dawn of time we came. Welcome back to Orange Hat Reviews, everyone. Hope you're all having a wonderful day. So, episode 2 of Singles is Highlander, the original, the OG. And next to me, I have OG Mark Jade. How you doing?
So, hello, good to be here. Sorry, I'm going to be off camera for this episode. It's been a long day. So,
yeah, she was nailing an immortal.
I mean that too.
So, give yourself a plug before we get the fun started.
Okay, my YouTube channel is Jade Shadow, basically the name. I also have a live YouTube channel, Jade Shadow Live, where I normally go do solo streams Friday afternoons, but I think I'm going to forego the one tomorrow just because of the schedule as it is right now with my parents' renovation. So I might just do a gaming stream tomorrow afternoon because, not that I'm looking forward to this, but Friday evening, if it is on the high seas, I will be watching the Barbie movie, and I've seen enough to know that I'm probably going to be pretty pissed off at it. So because that's my plan pretty much tomorrow evening. And then if I'm not able to do a gaming stream Saturday afternoon, you can find me on my Nerdy Homes channel for Talk Nerdy to Us, where we will be breaking down the Barbie movie at around 9 p.m. Eastern Saturday evening. At least that's the schedule for the rest of the week. And then back to normal schedule, hopefully, at least relatively normal next week.
Alrighty, and this is her channel, Jade Shadow.
Mm-hmm.
So make sure that you sub to that one. And plus, here is the live channel for her, folks. Make sure that you sub there as well.
Thank you.
So before we get going, let's say hi to the chat. We got Gravy D that I'm seeing first. Hello, Orange and Mara. There can be only one Highlander, and it's Trey. We also got Rocky the Black Dragon. First and foremost, Highlander rocks. Damn straight. Vanya, good to see you, one of the loyals. How you doing, buddy? Saw your review of this back in the day. Yes, I did a mystery review. However, I didn't know a lot of the background stuff that I'm going to be going through tonight. And folks, the opening with Sean Connery, you're all going to get a laugh out of that one. Let's just say that. Hey, Orange Hat and Mara from Trey. Yeah, Trey has the power. Yes. Netcab Media, good to see you, man. Soul Assassin, my favorite mod in Assassin of Souls, is dropping links. I gotta see the cringe that Barbie is gonna be. I watched.
Go ahead. If it was just stupid, I'd be like okay with it, like there being some cringe because it would at least know what it is. But everything I'm saying sounds to me like I'm going to be beaten over the head with one form of social messaging after another in this film. So that's not the cringe I look forward to watching.
So yeah, I saw Lorena Creel's. She actually did a very good objective review of it. Jeez, I keep forgetting that word. I don't know why, but my fucking name is Orange Hat Reviews, and I keep forgetting the word review. I was thinking Barbie was going to be legally blonde. Yeah. But anyway. So, yeah, we're not going to get into the Barbie stuff. We're getting into Highlander, something that we enjoy, something that we're going to be positive about, have a quickening. So,
I know not everybody, like I said, there was, I know I've seen the sequels. I cannot remember them for the life of me. But I know I've seen them.
The third one with Mario Van Peebles was good.
I know I definitely saw that one. Because I know I saw one with Mario Van Peebles in it. Because, that's something that just sticks with you.
The second one is it's a little less than a guilty pleasure, but one that I will watch but not say I'm a fan of.
But I overall enjoyed the series. I wasn't exactly I wasn't exactly necessarily into it, but I enjoyed it for what it was. I feel like it didn't butcher the lore around the Highlanders at all. I knew what it was as a series.
It completely retconned this movie though.
I know.
It has the involvement of Connor because the first episode has Connor in it. However, it completely retcons the fact that he won the prize.
So, well, I mean,
but, yeah.
But like for the most part, I enjoyed it. But like I said, I was never
Same.
really into it. But I'm saying like as a woman, Adrian Paul was easy on the eyes. So like there's that. I'm going to full on admit.
Elizabeth Grayson here, folks. I
Yeah.
loved Elizabeth Grayson. Freaking I was crushing on her.
Mm-hmm.
But Highlander, the series, I own it. I got it for a steal, which was like $19.99 for all the seasons, so that was good.
Mm-hmm.
But the last season, I'm like, he's not even the main focus of it, so it's like, what the fuck, man?
Yeah.
But anyway, getting into the Highlander movie, other options that were for McLeod. Get this, folks: Mel Gibson, Kevin Costner, Patrick Swayze, Sting, and Michael Douglas were all approached for this. Hulk Hogan also claimed to have been approached for the role of Connor McLeod. However, I think there may have been some confusion. Either he was approached for the wrestling scene that we see in the beginning of the movie, or he was approached for Kurgan.
Yeah, I could maybe see those roles, but not Connor McLeod. And of the ones that you listed, the only one I could remotely see in the role is Mel Gibson. That's the only one I could see in the role of the ones listed. If it wasn't Christopher Lambert in the role, that's the only one I could see. Sting, definitely fucking not. I like his music, but I'm sorry, he's not an actor. Patrick Swayze would have been decent, but I think he would have looked a bit too young. I like that Christopher Lambert looks like aged relatively. Like I know he's immortal, so he like doesn't exactly age, but at the same time, Swayze would come across as a bit too young because it would have been not long after Red Dawn. And
Michael
Douglas, no.
Well, he would have been good for sex scenes because during the 80s, he was just doing them all over the place.
I could maybe see him in Sean Connery's role if that was going to be replaced, but not Connor McLeod's. And what other name did you say?
Hulk Hogan, Mel Gibson, Kevin Costner.
Not Kevin Costner either.
Yeah,
I think he's gotten a bit better as an actor as he's gotten older. But when he was younger, I was like, nah. It's like
singer.
He never really impressed
not
me.
Wrestler, the singer, bub. I don't even think the wrestler was wrestling at the time that this movie came out.
Yeah, no. Sting was in the 1984 Dune. He played Prince Fade. So that's about as much acting as I think I've seen him, and even then I'm like, no, no, I did not see him as Connor.
When it comes to Clancy Brown, and I will get into this later, let's just say that he was great for the role of Kurgan. However, not everybody on the set agreed. Let's just say that. But we'll get into that more in depth. Now, the opening: from the dawn of time we came, moving silently down through the centuries, living many secret lives, struggling to reach the time of the gathering, when the few who remain will battle to the last. No one has ever known we were among you until now. Now, folks, the way they did this, you would think they just did some post-production of mystic effect to the voice, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's not the case. Sean Connery read this on a toilet in a restroom. The echo was just so beautifully done that they used it in the film.
It works.
It works. Oh my God, does it work? I mean, when I heard that and I looked that up to verify, I'm like, you've got to be fucking kidding me. I mean, I thought this was just like they gave it a little echo in post-production. No, they read this, or he read it on the toilet, doing his business, and they used it. I'm like, oh my God, that is just nuts.
I will say this for Sean Connery: he's one of those where it's like,
dude's magical.
Like he like pretty much doesn't give a fuck. He's like, I'm gonna read it wherever I have time, and he had time on the toilet, pretty much.
Oh my God, yeah. And not only that, Sean Connery was sexiest man alive, I believe, in his 50s or 60s. So, yeah, that's saying something.
Mm-hmm.
So we get the beginning, and it's Queen singing Princess of the Universe. Now,
Yep.
folks, other choices besides Queen for the soundtrack would have been Sting, Duran Duran, and David Bowie. I'm glad Queen stepped up because
well, I'm
that's
glad
history,
Queen stepped
man.
up too. I love Queen, but of those three
Yes.
you listed, I could probably see Duran Duran
Yeah.
in terms of like what would have worked with this movie, because Sting and David Bowie, as much as I appreciate them as artists, no.
David Bowie actually did a song with Queen, Under Pressure.
Yeah, that's one of my favorites.
Yeah.
So it's like, I don't
Now
even
get
think
this.
Bowie might have worked, Trey. I don't even think he might have worked. I mean, maybe, but like I'm looking at the feel of the movie, and I'm looking at the fact that they ultimately landed on Queen. If that's the feel they were going for with the soundtrack, then Duran Duran would have been like a close second to that.
Queen originally said no.
So.
And then they were shown the film, and then they're like, "We're doing this movie."
Yeah. So.
But like,
yeah, I agree with you, Trey. Like, Sting definitely would not have worked.
Yeah.
So.
Queen is what gave Highlander its flavor, or it has. Anyone else would have probably been forgotten, like Flash Gordon. Yeah. So we get the beginning scene, which is Madison Square Garden. They're doing wrestling, and this is another piece of trivia here, folks. The beginning was changed from hockey to wrestling due to the NHL's protest. They didn't want hockey being associated as a bloody, violent sport, because also this is a scene where Connor McLeod is remembering the Clan Wars in which he became an immortal.
Does the NHL realize what sport they sponsor?
Yeah, I know, right? It is.
I've watched hockey matches, and like, I'm not saying necessarily that it's like
it is the balls,
but it is violent. It can be violent.
I mean, I've seen a picture of a freaking hockey player with just blood just all down his freaking jersey and shit.
So I'm like,
it's ironic.
Yeah, I was like that's the reason that they gave, and I'm like, have you watched your own sports?
Yeah, and it's like I'm like, this is back in '86, so they may not have had a lot of or this was before the fights really became prevalent and what everybody wanted to see. But yeah, so they went with wrestling. And I like how the wrestling actually puts McLeod into a kind of not PTSD mode, but he's seeing flashes of the Clan Wars. Mm-hmm. And this is actually part of the director's cut, which they now have as the definitive cut on digital.
Yeah.
So then he senses another immortal, which he goes down into the parking garage. Now, folks, as much as I love this fight, there is some weird fuckery with the editing in this scene. Where
editing and the sounds the guy made.
Yeah,
I'm not trying to disparage the movie, but I was like, okay, like if I were choreographing that, if I had been like directing it, I would have been like, cuts, don't make any sounds.
Yeah.
Just don't make any noises. All the noises I want to hear is the sound of the swords hitting,
yeah,
and anything else like in the environment, but grunts.
Yeah. Grunts, heavy breathing and shit.
Yeah, it's like
great place to have a wrestling. Yeah. And but yeah, folks, there's a scene where he's running away from he's doing backflips down the freaking aisle of the cars, and I'm like,
oh yeah, I noticed that. And
then they cut back to him running away
and looking through between the cars. I'm like,
and
then I get cut back to the backflips. I'm like,
what on earth?
Did he stop periodically to look between cars and then go back to backflipping? I'm like looking at this
editing, right? It's like
looking at this editing, going that's way off.
And then you actually see Connor McLeod looking up over a car, going like, "What the fuck?"
Yeah,
it's just fucking nuts. So eventually Connor actually wins the fight and decapitates this guy. Now this guy is also played by Peter Diamond, who is the stunt coordinator for the film. So yeah, nice little scene there.
Mm-hmm.
And so we get our first quickening that is a bright light, but they improved when they did the director's cut. They improved the special effects, like the digital effects. They actually showed like his head, or when the quickening began, it shows an outline of a head as well as lifting up and starting to rip things apart and shit. But it's mostly just a very bright light and Connor doing this and looking upward. That's it. And then he has to leave, but he ditches his sword because they're now in a time where this shit gets public. Cops are going to be drawn. And I love how they actually show him ditching his sword.
Yeah. He ditches it by throwing it like up into like what looks like a light of sorts. So that way, once like when he knows like if they search the crime scene, they're not exactly going to look up. They're going to look around, like on the ground level where the crime occurred. Not saying it was a crime that happened. I'm saying like when CSU comes in, that's where they'll be looking. And
so then we get a flashback to 1536, where the McLeods are going to war against the Frasers.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Connor McLeod was born in 1518. You add 18 to that, you get 1536. Connor McLeod is technically 18, or died at 18 years old.
That was a hard 18 years life he lived. I'm looking at.
Damn like straight.
I don't believe Christopher Lambert is 18.
No, I wouldn't either.
Yeah, so that's why like that's one thing I would think that where Patrick Swayze would have worked. Yeah. As far as looking young.
Yeah. So the flashbacks were actually pretty well done. They did a lot of great editing and a lot of great set dressing to make Scotland look old and ancient. And, well, in our time, almost 500 years old, or 500 years. And Kurgan, Clancy Brown, is allied with the Frasers. And this fight, where you see Connor's like, fight me, damn you, fight me. And Kurgan comes up. Now, folks, Clancy Brown got into his character so much, he made everybody on set, other actors, everybody nervous. Speaking of which, I mean, you've seen the scene where he kidnaps Brenda, right?
Yeah.
She's literally terrified in that car. And it's like, oh shit, she forgot her lines a couple times. It's like, oh shit. But yeah.
So I did find that like the fight scene funny in that way, because Connor is walking around the battlefield trying to get people to fight him, because like basically the deal with the alliance that Kurgan has with the Frasers is that he's the one who kills Connor, because Kurgan knows there's something special about Connor.
Yeah,
there's something like
he's a foundling, so chances are he's not a regular mortal.
Yes. And so I found it funny where Connor is going around the battlefield trying to get people to fight him, and you literally see guys like putting their hands up like no,
nope,
like
nope, not him. Yeah.
So,
and one of the things is, if you decapitate an immortal that hasn't yet become immortal, do you get the power, or do you get the strength from him? I'm guessing not, because it's kind of an empty tank at the time, or just a little bit of power.
I think for him, it was like not so much the power, it was more or less because he wanted to be the last one.
Yeah.
He wanted the prize. So one way to do that is pretty much to kill someone who's at the foundling stage. Even if you don't get a lot of power,
because he's already the strongest.
Yeah.
And he's already the strongest immortal at the time.
Yes. So, and it's like basically just, take them out as their weakest. And that like helps. And it helps basically get them one step closer to the prize.
Yeah. employed a crap load of local actors. Yeah, they pulled people for a lot of it. I watched because Robot Chicken. What the fuck? Now I'm gonna have to look up Highlander Robot Chicken after this. So he gets stabbed, and his cousins actually stop Kurgan to get him away from him. So
yeah,
we then cut back to
I think only one of the men was his cousin, and one was like a friend.
Dougal, Dougal and Angus.
Dougal was the cousin, and Angus was like more of a friend because I'm jumping ahead a little bit because Angus was the one who stopped.
Yeah, he's like, he's your cousin, man. Yeah. And I liked Angus. It was a good actor.
Yeah.
Who played him. So we then see that he's fleeing the scene. Connor is just outright fleeing the scene. And I love that the cops are so fucking aggressive here. It's like, who called? What did they report? How did they even know? Because that is actually not established. I mean, maybe there's a fire or because the electric system went down or whatever.
And you had a bunch of cars destroyed because you had people complaining. I know. I remember one guy in the scene goes, "How am I going to explain this to my wife?" Sort of situation.
Yeah.
So imagine like people coming, like at least something would have gone, like an alarm would have gone off for that.
Yeah.
Then I would imagine just coming to investigate that alarm. If I'm not sure how New York worked back in the 80s, but they would have definitely encountered a headless body. So that would have prompted them to, okay, now we need CSU for, they called it forensics, but like CSU.
Yeah.
So forth.
So they call them in, and I love Garfield, the cop. He's like trying to arrest Connor, and he's like, give me it. Poof, just cracks it. It's like, oh shit, dude, really? I mean, don't move, pal. Don't even. These cops were just so fucking macho aggressive. It's like,
wow. I almost died laughing at the part where Connor is being interrogated.
Yeah.
And the one cop actually drops the gamer word.
Mm-hmm.
And
are you an F word, Nash?
Yeah, I loved Connor's comeback to that. It's like, it's like, why? Like the cops saying, like,
you cruising for a piece of ass? Yeah.
I love that comeback.
You sound funny, Nash. Where are you from? Lots of different places. Now that actually works because his imperfect English and attempted accent actually works for the film because it was meant to be a man who has been around the world so much he picked up numerous accents.
Well, I can believe that. Yeah, because when you're basically living different lives throughout the centuries because of its being immortal, you can't exactly say like, "Oh, I'm keep with the same name of Connor McLeod." When Connor McLeod would have been dead a long time ago.
Yep.
And so forth. You're going to encounter different dialects, and you're going to basically be taking those dialects in as part of you. So I get that.
Yep. So one of the things to cover that, actually, the way that McLeod does it, assuming new identities and names, he takes the names of children who died at birth, inherits or puts his previous life in their will, writes the name to that dead child, and then he assumes that identity to claim the inheritance. That's how he does it, and that's actually what they did in the first season of Highlander, the series. When Richie needed a new identity, they searched graveyards for kids who died at birth.
So, which makes sense. Which makes sense because you would. I mean, as tragic as it is, the children would not have any history, so there would be like no anything that could trip them up as far as people who would know the child, no matter how long the child lived.
Mm-hmm. I forgot that I had that avatar still up. But yeah. So we get forensics going in, and they find the sword, the Toledo Salamanca, which is worth about $1 million. And we get introduced to Brenda Wyatt. And you get the mention of Jersey, where there was a killing done just like this. And there's a reason why you don't see any deleted scenes of this movie, folks. Because the warehouse that had all the deleted scenes burnt down. All of the reels, the films, all of it. However, they did have stills photos taken that didn't burn down, and Kurgan faced an immortal that uses 2 swords, and he was working at a computer shop when the Kurgan came a calling. So yeah, that kind of works. Now we then get Kurgan coming to NYC to the best freaking line or song, "Give Me the Prize." And I love it when he checks in, Victor Kruger. He's actually keeping his name close to Kurgan.
Yeah.
And Clancy Brown does a wonderful job. The only thing that I do have a problem with was when they did his neck scar makeup. You could see that it's clearly a prosthetic in some scenes.
Mm-hmm.
But hey, it was the 80s, folks.
Yeah.
So we get him checking in, building his sword. Folks, sword making 101. You do not have a sword that comes in pieces. It is a very weak sword. As big, as bad as the freaking sword looks, a blade or a 2-section blade that slides in and slots in will break if you hit it in that area with strong enough force. I watch a lot of sword forging shows on YouTube, folks. That's how I know this shit. But I would love to see the forger guys actually do a Kurgan build. That would be a great freaking build.
Mm-hmm.
So he's doing his sword kata, and a prostitute comes in. "Hey, I'm Candy."
Yeah.
Of course you are. I mean, he plays it so freaking great.
Yeah.
And the metal, Brenda gets some metal from the neck wound, and it's dated over 2,000 years old. So it's like, son of a bitch. I love that scene. That can't be right. Son of a bitch. 2,000-year-old metal sliced this dude's head off, folks. And so it's like, holy crap. But yes, actually smash that like button or chop the head off that like button. That works better, or that works either way. You might get a quickening. Who knows? So we then have the scene where he goes down, goes to retrieve his sword, but is interrupted by Brenda, who wants to go down and try to grab a little bit more metal, see if she can find any more to do another comparison. And she also finds that the metal was folded 200 times. And nowadays, 200 times is actually quite significant, but nowadays it's really not. You could find, or that's almost a dime a dozen when it comes to swords. However, I've seen a sword that was forged that was folded over 1,000 times. Let me tell you, folks, that's going to be a strong sword.
Yeah.
Because the folding technique is they layer it, they grim it, they solder it, and then they burn it, they refold it, or they hammer it down, then they refold over and over and over.
I think, like, in particular, that she was fascinated with how many times it was folded is because of how old the sword is. Because that, while the technique wasn't exactly common yet in terms of folding it. It would have predated
known swords,
predated known techniques.
Mm-hmm.
It was like what fascinated her because she's like, this is like she estimated that it was forged like in 600 BC roughly. It's like what she estimates.
Mm-hmm.
So,
which was approximately 1,000 years or 1,300 years rather before the first katana was made.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So the first katana was made in 700 AD or around that time. And his sword was made in 593 BC. So it's an interesting thing. And we get the scene where they're at the bar, and Glen Orangey. What kind of drink is that?
I have no idea if it's a French one, but I was like, I had the captions on because I was like, didn't have the volume on too loud, and I was like, I'd never heard of that drink.
Hey, Teresa, good to see you. Kurgan's sword reviewed by Skullgrim. Soul Assassin, if you can actually send me the link in DMs on Twitter, please. The Orange Hat Patriot account, please. I want to check that out. So I love that. He's like, you go to the garden often? Both the bartender and her is like, excuse me? And so she follows him. Now, I had watched the series before I originally watched the original movie. So I'm like, she a watcher? But this was before watchers were ever established. And it's like, no. She's just an innocent person that got a little too interested in this guy because she thinks he might be following him. And we get the attack between Kurgan and him. And that was also kind of botched up because if you look at where she is when the cops show, or the cop chopper shows up, before the cop chopper shows up, she is off, or she is down a ways away from them when Kurgan's kicking the hell out of Connor. And then when the cop, or when the police light shows down, she's on the ground just in front of them. So it's like, or don't get me wrong, folks, I love this movie, but this is also a kind of a review discussion. So it's like wonky editing or different takes from previous iterations of the screen. What did you think of the attack with Kurgan where he just blatantly just goes after McLeod?
So I think it makes sense to the Kurgan character because how do I describe his person? How describe his personality? He pretty much just doesn't care. He really doesn't care who sees him, when it happens, or like, you know, what have you, pretty much, because I'm jumping ahead a little bit, but you know, one of the instances where he's attacking another immortal, you have this. He calls himself a Marine. I have no idea if he was actually a Marine or not, but who had guns in his car, who witnessed the attack and shoots up Kurgan, and Kurgan pretty much skewers him with his sword.
Oh yeah,
and it's like, and Kurgan was also basically manhandled the man behind the desk at that CD motel that he's living in. It's like Kurgan really is like a personality where it's. He does not care. He really does not care who sees him. He really does not care whom he hurts or anything like that.
His focus is nobody can touch him.
Yeah, like no one, like basically no one can touch him. He's that narcissistic. He's that overly confident in his abilities that again just will flat out attack Connor in front of people.
Yeah.
Whereas again, like, you know, most immortals like Connor and so forth would wait until there's no one around because you don't exactly want to reveal yourself because people are not going to understand the concept of what a Highlander is.
Yeah. Because she goes right after him and is like, called you Highlander. What what does that mean? Only
Yeah.
there could be only one. Only one what?
Yes.
And he's like, listen, lady, you almost got your. I want to know. Shut up. You only have one life. You value it. Go home and don't ever follow me again.
Yes. Even though Highlander most likely comes from the fact that Connor's from the Highlands.
Yep, Glenfinnan on the shores of Loch Shiel.
Yes. But for the most part, it's become synonymous with the beings themselves, essentially the immortals.
Yeah.
But yeah, so like that's pretty much Kurgan's character. He is that overly confident.
Yeah. And then we get a major flashback where it goes to his banishment, where his kinsmen are like, you saw the wound, he should have died. It's not natural. They believe the devil is in him.
Yeah.
And folks, back in the 1500s, if there was any sort of weird shit, it's the devil's fault. That's just how it was.
Which is it is pretty much true.
Yeah.
So I'm like we sitting here thinking it's like it's technically he should be dead, but people have survived worse wounds.
Well, he got stabbed pretty deep and then twisted it just to make
But I've seen people survive getting like nails in the heads, pretty much, where that's like should hit the brain, you should be dead. But
remember back, I think it was the 90s, the dude had a knife straight into the skull between the hemispheres of the brain and survived.
Yeah, so I'm saying it's like weirder situations have happened. But at the same time, I'm going to say this flat out: he traded up. Like that woman that he was in love with, like the first one. It's like, you need to get out more. She's like just.
Heather is a lot more nice. So
he traded up.
And he built a freaking castle, or pretty much a silo castle for them to live in, which was nice. Because you could also see that there were wooden stilts to keep it even and whatnot. So then we get introduced to Juan Sanchez Villalobos Ramirez, chief metallurgist of Charles V of Spain.
Mm-hmm.
And I love the little light that flashes when he jumps right over him. It's like a light flashes on both Connor and Heather, and it's like, dude just came down from heaven. What is he, God? But I love this. Now, Connery, according to this, was only on set for a week, and all of his sequences were filmed in Scotland. And I actually did hear about this. Some people are bitching about Highlander as a very macho patriarch kind of film, because the way that Connor says, Heather, go in the house, she's like, I'll stay right here. Do as I say, woman. And it's like, you're telling me that one little fucking scene pisses you guys off that much that this movie needs to be fucking fuck off.
I
mean, the way I see it,
whether you like it or not, it's how it was back then. I mean, hell, exactly. I'm being facetious when I say this, but I'll even say to my mom, it's like, it's like, woman.
I know, right? I say it to my mom too. It's like, woman, enough. Please.
I even say that.
She's like, what? I said that to my mom when she's like, excuse me. I'm like, I'm sorry, but please. But yeah, to anybody who freaking decries this film,
shut your fucking mouth! Shut the fuck up, you cunt! Shut it!
Yeah.
I got this, or I got that. But yeah, so he gets his first quickening thanks to Ramirez, because when an immortal is around, according to the original lore, when an immortal finds another immortal that has just risen, essentially, they undergo or their immortality is then confirmed, essentially. It's a confirmation, sort of a religious bit, which would explain the holy ground thing. And I do love how in Highlander lore, Pompeii was the result of two immortals fighting on holy ground.
You know what? I would believe that.
Yeah. And I'm thinking to myself, holy shit. two freaking towns destroyed because two immortals had it out over on holy ground. Damn. But yeah, we learned the rules, and I love this whole training sequence where he has the claymore. I love the McLeod claymore. I'm looking for that to actually get that. And I mean, Connery also didn't want, or he refused sword training. He was arrogant, and it's because of that there was a few injuries on set. So there's a reason why he wears gloves at a few times. Because yeah, he got nicked.
I was like, Connery, I love you, but come on.
Yeah. Well, think about it. Connery was James Bond, and he's also now typecast after this movie. He was typecast after this movie to play a more mentorish role in future films. One notably is like The Rock, where he plays John Mason, but is sort of mentoring Stanley Goodspeed, as well as many other films where he is a mentor's figure. Also, like my favorite film of all time with Sean Connery, Finding Forrester. Have you ever seen that one?
Years ago.
Great movie. And so we learned the rules that there can be only one, and the time of the gathering where they will feel an irresistible pull to a faraway land to fight for the prize. Nobody knows what the prize is. It's only speculated. And beheading, I love how he says this. He's like, if your head comes away from your neck, it's over.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I love how he handles it. He gets a little fed up with Connor. So when he slices a tree and Connor's like, ha, 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 and gets caught, he's like, oh.
Yeah.
I just love it. And I also love how he's teaching him balance. And that scene with the boat scene is just freaking great. It's like, you look like a woman, you stupid haggis. What is haggis?
What's haggis?
Sheep's stomach filled with meat and barley. And what do you do with it? You eat it. How revolting. Achoo. It's like, that is the most fake sneeze. And he's like,
I would have the same reaction. So
yeah.
That's disgusting.
Yeah. Well, I've had haggis. Let's just say never again.
Yeah, I was like, it doesn't even sound appealing.
You gotta really boil it down to get it less gamey. But also, because health issues, folks, I can't have haggis because it's also wickedly salted.
Mm-hmm.
Let's just say that. I mean, sodium levels over 3,000 milligrams. And that's a lot. You're basically eating pure salt. So he tosses him out of the boat, and I love that, man. He's like, I'm drowning. You can't drown, fool. You're immortal. However, in the movie or in the show, you could drown and die, but you'll come back. But in the movie, it is more mystical. I'm alive. I can breathe. I'm going to slice you in two. I just love it. He pulls the sword. He's like, I'm going to slice you in half. I mean, I love that scene. And he's actually pretty quiet when he comes up behind him until the swing. And it's like, good and slow, Klansman. Your attack is no better than that of a clumsy child. Two fish drop out of his kilt. It's like, where were those hiding?
I mean, I could speculate, but I'm not going to.
Yeah, I know, right? But yeah, I love this. He's like, you cannot die, McLeod. Accept it. And he just gives that laugh, and it's like, I hate you. Good. That is a perfect place to start. Oh, but yeah, what did you think about the whole training montage and feeling the stag as well as chasing the stag, having fun with your immortality and whatnot?
So, well, I mean, I enjoyed it because even though it was a montage, you still got the sense that there was like something they were connecting. Like there was gradually, there was. I don't want to say like necessarily a deep friendship, but a friendship forming between the two, where it's like it kind of morphed from mentor and student to basically like friends. Helping each other pretty much in this sense, because it gets to a point where Sean Connery's character is still at the castle, and he's like basically having dinner, or at least after like what he would have eaten with Connor's wife. So it's evolved beyond that of like simple teacher student relationship. And you see it especially whenever the stag scene where it's like he's like, trust me here. Like that's not just something like a teacher says to to a student. That's like you hear like in the tone of his voice, like a friend saying, trust me.
Yep.
So you feel the stag.
Feel his blood coursing, his feet pounding. And then he just and they start feeling, and it's when you feel an animal, or if you can actually delve into an animal's mind, folks, it is like the ultimate freedom. I am not saying that through actual experience, but think about how animals work. They don't have to worry about what we worry about. So there's excitement. There is an urge to run. Like that stack took off when Sean Connery took off. So there you go. Because you have heightened senses as an immortal, which is essentially what they establish in the film. And so we learn, or later scene where there is a bit of tension, we learn that Ramirez was born around 900, or he was born 2,437 years prior to the scene they're in, which puts him around 901 BC. I mean, at that point, Ramirez had been with him quite a while. It could have been like about a year that he's been with them, or 2 years that he's been with them, so 1538. So there's a little room for speculation of around 900 BC was when Ramirez was born. And he had 3 wives. The last was Shikiku, a Japanese princess. Her father, Masamune, made him the sword around 593 BC. And that's 1,300 years, again, as I said earlier, roughly before the first katana's forging. We also learn of the Kurgan, and where his people are from the steppes of Russia, and where they would toss kids into pits full of hungry dogs for sport and entertainment. So it's like hard living, brutish sport. Yeah, he is the perfect warrior. He is the strongest of the immortals. So we then get the line, there can be only one. Or in the end, there can be only one. And we then get the scene between Heather and Ramirez talking about how he swashbuckled his way into a room. He was in love, and, well, the woman that he loved wasn't there, so he introduced himself to the lady that was there. She was most helpful. But then the Kurgan comes calling. Great fight here, because Ramirez very well handled Kurgan, but he still ends up losing. I mean, he's the one that actually gives him the slice right here. Almost took off his head too, because it was a pretty deep cut.
Yeah,
but I love how
unfortunately never separated.
Yeah, and it's like, my cut has improved your voice.
I find like this is also after Ramirez was telling
Connor,
I
yep.
told McLeod you need to
You gotta
leave
leave her.
Yeah.
Yep. Because they can't have children. And when Shikiko died, I was shattered. I will spare you that pain. So please let Heather go.
Yeah.
He can't do it. This is Connor. Connor literally, folks. Greatest scene in this film is also the most tragic and saddest. It's from Queen singing "Who Wants to Live Forever," which was made strictly for this movie and beautifully sung. He stays with his wife throughout to the end of her life.
Mm-hmm.
If that isn't romance, or if that isn't romantic, if that isn't true love, what the frig is?
Yeah, I don't, yeah. Because she even asked him, it's like, it's like, why did you stay with me?
And he says, because I've loved you, or I love you now as the first day we met.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And he makes that promise. Would you light a candle and remember, or in the years to come, will you light a candle and remember me on my birthday? And he does every freaking year of his life.
Mm-hmm.
So for around 400 some odd years of his life, he gets through with that promise, which is basically literally around 400 years, because she died around the 1480s or the 1580s rather. Yeah, 1580s.
Mm-hmm.
So he brings her up, puts her to rest this is after Ramirez got beheaded by Kurgan, and we later learn that the Kurgan raped Heather.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, damn, that is, Connor never knew.
Yeah.
So later scene, Rachel, who are let's see here.
Yes. I love how they use the flashbacks in this
Yeah.
movie, because we meet Rachel first as his secretary, assistant, whatever you want to call her,
Yep.
pretty much. But that's how we first meet her. Then we find out via flashback that he actually found her as a child. So technically, he's father. Yeah, like her. Technically, her like father figure. Yeah,
he raised her. And I absolutely love that scene because he drops the line, "It's kind of magic," which is another song from Queen. I mean, there is so much Queen reference in this movie, and they actually did that, or Queen actually took from those lines to write their songs, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
And so he goes on a date with Brenda, and he has a bottle of Glenlinan or something like that, or Lenlinen, or a bottle of
it was brandy.
1783.
Yeah, it's a very good year.
Yeah, Mozart wrote his first piece, the Mongolfier, or the Mongol.
Like Mozart wrote his mass.
Yep. Went up into their first balloon, and England officially recognized the independence of the United States.
Yes.
And I actually looked that up too. Turns out that is true. They officially in that year, because 1776 was when the deal was drafted, or the second draft was sent to England. However, after the English got their asses kicked by 1780 or 1782, yeah, the English is like, fine, fuck it, you can have it.
Yeah.
But I love the whole freaking setup. She's loading a freaking 45, hides it, sets up a recorder, and he also knows that she works for forensic because he has a book of hers of sword making and whatnot. So it's kind of he's testing her, really. Yeah. And because she just can't leave well enough alone.
Yeah.
And while she's getting her earrings on, he finds the gun like that. I love that. I love your place, Brenda.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, I only had
and he says a quote, and he goes, very interesting view. And it's like, what? And he opens up the thing with a recorder. It's like, very interesting view. Like, he literally leans down to, like, just to speak into it.
Yeah, and he's looking at the cop outside her place because the cops really want to nail him for the murder of Fazil and whatnot. And I just love that, dude. I just love that whole friggin'. It's like, so he gives her the book. She's like, "You bastard, where'd you get this?" "I have an extensive library."
Yeah.
"Your bio doesn't mention the med. It says you're working with the police in forensics. Are you and Moran trying to set me up?" And so she's like, or he tells her about the cop hanging outside. She's like, "What are you going to do?" Question is, what are you going to do? You going to turn off the tape, or you going to shoot me with a 45? That is such a great line.
Yeah.
And so she only wants to see the samurai because he's like, "Why?" "I told you, because it's not supposed to exist." Now, they didn't start making swords like that until the Middle Ages. I mean, a discovery like that would be discovering a 747 1,000 years before the Wright brothers ever flew.
Yeah,
This is crazy.
it's pretty much her primary motivation. So it's like she didn't even realize that she was being tailed. So she was just as shocked when he pointed out the cop on the streets. So in his mind, she's setting him up, like she's in league with the cops. But in her mind, all she wants to find out about is the sword.
Yep.
And she's being used by the cops. So it's like she's essentially caught in the middle of all. Like she put herself essentially in the middle, but she's caught up in the middle. And all she wants to do is just, I want to know more about the sword. That's all.
Yeah. She has Jones for the sword, folks. There's definitely a joke there. But the choreography, actually, yes, for the most part, it is great. However, I would love to see Shadiversity. I want to know Shadiversity's. I want to see Shadiversity do a review of Highlander if he hasn't already. But yeah,
choreography was good, but in some instances, it felt a bit clunky.
Yeah,
like you could tell it was like there's like basically, I'm not saying like there's like like fights aren't choreographed, but they're done so seamlessly that they don't come across as choreographed. In some parts, in some parts of this movie, like there's like good instances like during the choreography where it's like, okay, like they nailed those moves and things like that, and there's other instances where it's like, I can definitely tell you're going, okay, my mark is here. Boom. I have to swing the sword this way. Boom. I can see like then like recounting the moves in their head and like acting it out. And it comes across as very
really
obscene.
bad.
Yes.
Yeah. And folks, when I say there are some that was bad choreography, I'm talking as bad as the Disney trilogy of Star Wars, where they're just blindly swinging at each other. Because the fight between Kurgan and Ramirez, when they're not going up the steps, they're going like this up at each other.
Yeah.
It's like the classic ding, 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 ding. It's like, get a little bit more swinging in there, man.
A bit more.
Yeah. And so there's the scene which he makes his promise. After the scene where he's told that he must leave, or he hears Ramirez say that he must leave her, and then we get to the Heather through her life. So then we get, after that, he leaves the Highlands, burns his home, and goes off to basically learn more about himself and his life. And we then are brought back to the present, only for a little bit, to meet Castigear on a bridge. And boom, boom, the drink. And then he's like, I think we should have a party. Oh, no. Remember the last time we had a party? When was that? 1783. So, again, 1783, while there was also deleted scenes where Connor McLeod met Thomas Jefferson, which was interesting. Mm-hmm. But in 1783, the Boston Common Duel against a man named Bassett, he was drunk as a skunk, folks. And when I say that, you see Christopher Lee They're just drunk. It's like, go see if the imbecile is ready. Mr. Bastard is waiting, sir. Tell him I'm ready. And he just falls over.
Yes.
I'm blind. He gets stabbed like 5 or 6 times. And then the guy's like, stop, sir.
Bassett's like, I do apologize for like calling your wife
a bloated warthog.
Warthog.
And I bid you good day.
and he leaves, and
Bassett's servant wants him to shoot him.
And I love how like the man he's dueling at least has enough honor. Like, I'm
to
not
let it go.
Bad. Yeah, to let him go. Like, I've stabbed him 5 or 6 times. He's clearly gotten up, and he's walking away from this duel. So I'm not going to shoot him in the back. So like, he clearly has enough. He clearly has some honor.
The duel's
and
been settled.
also like, you know, frustration, because he's like, he says the servant's name, but he says it in a way it's like, you better start running.
Mm-hmm. It's like, and the guy's like, oh no. Boom. He just shoots him because folks, back then, I actually do know a little bit of this history because I actually did a little bit of studying on this shit during high school. If a servant gets out of place in affairs of state or in personal affairs of their owners or of their employer, that is a death sentence. Because you are involved in something that does not concern you, and you risk embarrassing your employer in front of others. Remember, there was also a dual officiate there during this duel. Because duels were legal back then, and they always had an officiate there, or a person there to witness and officiate the duel. So, yes. That dude had to die to spare any witnessing of impropriety.
Yeah.
So
I agree with Trey. Probably shooting him wouldn't kill him anyway, but at the same time, it's like just like knowing like basically the rules of duel, like he wouldn't do it because of, one, it's in front of the officiate, and 2, there is still a sense of honor even amongst duelists. So it's
the matter was settled. There was no more, or there wasn't. Or to do so would also be dishonorable.
Yeah. So.
Because when he let him walk away, that means the entire thing is settled.
Yeah, because like, he didn't try to stop him, he just let him go. So at that point, it's like the duel is done. No more. He's going his way. I'm going to go my way, essentially, at that point.
And what a lot of people don't realize, officiates have also have a pistol. You break the rules of the duel, the officiate shoots you. That's how it is. Now, I also find it funny that this movie has a duel in it, in which Clancy Brown also officiated over a duel in a movie of this year, John Wick 4. So that was interesting. So then we are going into Kurgan going hunting. And that's when they're listening to the guy's listening to the news. But when he sees Kurgan, he's like, "Hey, Candy said you were a little kinky. Don't ever speak to me." Oh man, I didn't mean anything. Don't ever speak to me again. Do you understand? Yeah, good. Slams him back. I hope you get your head chopped off, asshole.
I love that line. I also like the black guy who hangs out in the lobby and starts laughing. She's laughing his ass off at the whole scene, like
because and do nothing.
Yes.
But so we then see this survival nut who was a former Marine. Well, once a Marine, always Marine, but who was a Marine? Just driving in his T-Bird down the frickin' down an alley and ends up witnessing the fight. He's like, okay, Marine, this is for real. And I love this. They could have cast Bruce Campbell in that role and it would have just been great. But this guy's like, what the hell's going on? Two immortals are fighting, dickhead. They don't care that you are there. However, they do kind of prefer you not to be.
Yeah. Well, that when they had no choice. They had to keep fighting pretty much.
Yeah.
So it's like, no matter how many witnesses showed up.
Yeah.
But like I said, Kurgan wouldn't have cared if the guy was there the whole time.
Yep. Smash the like, folks. And so Kurgan wins that. And they actually use some of the footage of this quickening from Castagir's quickening to Kurgan. They actually use a little bit of it in the Highlander series of the buildings being ripped up. So that's another interesting thing. Also, the old man that gets his car taken away. His name is Frank Dukes. If you know your 80s lore, folks, you know that name. I'm pretty sure you do too, Mara.
I think I just must be really tired because nothing's coming to me right now.
Bloodsport.
I've been up since about 5 this morning. What?
Bloodsport.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And this old lady is screaming for her daddy to help her as the Kurgan takes her for a ride. But I love that. He gets in the car. Mom.
Yeah, I know.
It's like fucking hilarious. Oh, yeah. I mean, it is freaking hilarious.
Yeah.
Yes, Sean Bird. Yes, it has been established that he was lying about it all. However, that movie was still a good goddamn movie.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we then get the cops interrogating the Marine, and they show him a picture of Ness. That him? Nope. Come on, man. It was dark in that alley. The freak tried to kill me. He had a big scar across his neck. That ain't him. Shit. I just love that. The cop's like, shit. And he then tells him about what he saw after he whacked the other guy. And they cut to hearing the PA or a nurse calling for something while this guy is going over his account.
Mm-hmm.
That is such a great, it's like you want to know what he's saying, but you already kind of know what he's saying. Even if you can't read lips, which I can't. But yeah, she's not screaming for her daddy. There's an old married couple. There's an old married couple. They call each other mommy and daddy, like Reagan did with Nancy. Well, there's probably that too, but still, that stunt lady that played, or that was the old lady that had a stunt lady on the front of the car while Kurgan's just riffing through the street is pretty hilarious.
Yeah.
So we then is like, I don't want to hear about sword fights in New York or people glowing in the dark. We just tell them what when, and then they get the scene where I believe who said it, who was it in the chat? Yeah, Wolverine, the newspaper guy. What does incompetent mean? That man called me up 3 a.m. in the morning. What does baffled mean? It's like that's what it's like. Incompetent would have gotten me to actually look at the dude like, the fuck are they saying about us? But baffled, it's like, that's what gets you to look. You guys are baffled.
Yeah.
Like, so the scene of Brenda looking into Nash's background, old deeds on Nash's place going back to 1796. So
I'll be right back
years.
in like 1 minute. I gotta grab something.
Yep. So 13 years later, after his duel on Boston Common, folks, he had purchased a place in New York City, and under the name Montague, which was Adrian Montague, and there were other names: Jacques Lefebvre, Alfred Nicholson, Rupert Wallingford, and Russell Nash. All of them, when a search was done, all corresponded with the names of kids that died at birth.
Yeah.
So, did you hear the names that I read out?
Yeah, but I heard the last part of Russell Nash, so I know that's like where
Adrian Montague, Jacques Lefebvre, Alfred Nicholson, Rupert Wallingford, and then this guy actually does a writing check of all the signatures, and they all have letters that spell out Russell Nash, but it's the writing that is the comparison. And this guy's like, so what you got here is this guy that has literally been creeping around since at least the late or the early 1700s, pretending to croak and then assuming the identities of kids who had died at birth. So yeah. Kurgan's then identified in the paper, so he has to cut his hair up, and bobby pins in his neck.
Yeah, I was thinking, nah, I couldn't. That's like the part like I was like that. I can handle like certain like gore. It's like something about things like that I just can't look at.
Disembowelment I can handle. Beheadings I can handle. People getting ripped apart like this I can handle. Bobby pins in the neck.
Yeah.
Fuck no, man. I'm sorry, but fuck no.
When it gets that delicate, I just like that's what unnerves me. I don't know what it is.
I mean, I'm the kind of person that would have freaked out when kids were putting bobby pins through just one layer of skin.
Yeah.
So this is also at the church where Connor is celebrating his wife Heather's birthday and telling Ramirez to look after her. But then Kurgan comes in, pops all the candles, and Castigator's gone. Only you and I remain. Nice to see you, Kurgan. Who does your hair? I'm in disguise. This way nobody will recognize me. It's like, the fuck, dude? You stand out like a sore thumb.
Yeah.
But I love what he does with the nuts. Happy Halloween, ladies. It's like, what the fuck? This dude is just so nuts. Like I said, he got into his character so much, he unnerved everybody. Ragfair, how you doing? Safety pins, bobby pins, or whatever. But thank you for pointing that out. Predator ripping out spines, fine. Bobby pins or safety pins are no for me, right? Not really bothered by that. I'm weird. To each their own, dude. Looked like you would have been in a punk band. Yeah, right? Judging from the 80s fashion, Kurgan would fit right. Yeah, true. With certain gangs and whatnot. But I do love that he actually admits to killing Ramirez and then rapes his woman before his body was even. It's like, oh, I see. It wasn't his woman. It was your woman. And she never told you. And I wonder why.
Mm-hmm.
And he just this is the first time Connor's hearing it, folks. So Connor definitely loses his temper.
Yeah.
But Kurgan's stronger and he doesn't care. It's like, holy ground, Highlander. Remember what Ramirez taught you. And he's like, you can't stay in here forever.
Yeah.
Technically he could, but all he would have to do is be like sanctuary.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so we then get the famous line that's also in the song give me the prize. I have something to say. It's better to burn out than to fade away. After he crushes the hand of a priest. So then we learn about Brenda learning the truth because she confronts Rachel and she's like, I'm looking for a dead guy named Nash. Now, folks, I lived in Syracuse, New York for a while. So it's pretty kind of cool to hear that this kid was born in Syracuse, New York. But this is kind of an odd thing, folks. She sees all of the clan wars and claymores and the clan war stuff from Connor's time throughout the centuries, and he admits the truth to her and then lets her stab him. And after he gets stabbed and doesn't die, she basically just starts kissing him, and we get the sex scene. I'm like, does stabbing people make you a aroused woman? What the fuck? It does kind of make one wonder. I'm sorry, folks. What goes through your mind if you just start fucking a dude that you just stabbed and didn't die? Mara, jump in anytime.
She hasn't had some in a while, so that's what I would
probably.
say.
But it's like, wow. So we're not going to get into deets of the sex scene. There's no need for that. But there's a scene at the zoo that is not in the theatrical cut, because the theatrical cut, Kurgan just kidnaps her right from her apartment. But there's a scene at the zoo where she wants to be with him. He's like, I can't. There's no future in this kind of relationship. And she's like, all this time, you can't die, or most people are afraid to die. You're just afraid to live. Which it's like, you're not wrong, but you also see that the Kurgan is standing in the shadows behind him. And then he senses the Kurgan. It's like, Kurgan's right fucking there and you don't sense him. So that's kind of odd. Because that's a little bit of an inconsistency. When immortals are like 20 meters away from each other, they can sense them. Kurgan is like 5 meters away from Connor. Nothing. Until he gets away from him. And that's when Connor feels it. But the scene where he kidnaps Brenda, busts through her door, and just takes her and shit, gotta say, he was just wickedly enjoying that so much. You see, like, and running over people on the sidewalk, just playing chicken with a bunch of freaking 18-wheelers. Folks, this dude is sadistic. And Brenda Wyatt is so freaking terrified. No joke. She was legit terrified, the actress herself, because he was that into it. What did you think of that scene?
I'm actually makes her fall instantly into bed with you.
Say what?
I'm just reading the quotes. I'm just reading.
All right. It's a known fact that delivering that soliloquy followed by stabbing yourself with a knife, woman is holding automatically. Yeah, right. But what did you think about Brenda taken by Kurgan and playing chicken 18-wheelers, running over people, getting terrified?
So, I enjoyed the scene. I very much enjoyed the scene, but you'd have to think that Connor would have been called anyway to that point, because that's where he was being drawn to. So it's I don't want to say pointless for him to have done it, because he really did not need to kidnap Brenda to lure Connor. But at the same time, it's like I think Kurgan
just wanted to have
I would say had other plans.
Yeah. Yeah. But when she pulled that gun, it's like, fuck it, I'm going to have fun with you, or I'm going to have fun with you in a different way.
Yeah.
So then he leaves the message to her, or to Connor, and it's like, no location, but Silver Cup Studios. So he has to say goodbye to Rachel, and he gives her full power of attorney to do what she wishes with the place. And I love that when he finally leaves, he says that very same thing he said to her all those years ago. It's a kind of magic. And it really is a beautiful scene when they're saying goodbye to each other. It is kind of sad because she knows him very well, not as a lover, but as a friend and almost like an adopted father. So we get to the final battle. That battle on the rooftop was freaking nuts. Lightning or electricity coursing through them and all that sort of shit. Basically, this is the final battle between the two immortals, or the last two, folks. So it's going to be powers colliding, you know? Hey, Jacob Ironside, good to see you. But yeah, I gotta say, when they finally got off the roof and down into the studio, that's when the fight was at its best, because you're no longer dealing with water, but you could seriously tell that they were on wires when they were falling.
Yeah, I have to ask this. I was watching it, but I might have looked away for just a bit. How did she get down there? Because they fell, and last I saw, there was like no way for her to climb down.
They show her running up to the door outside, of the studio. I have no idea how the fuck she got down there. I'm guessing there's a stairwell or some shit.
Okay.
Probably. But I do love how she interferes with the fight. Now, other immortals can't interfere with a fight between two other immortals, folks. Mortals, they can.
Yeah.
And I love that. She just smacked, and Kurgan just turns like, fucking really? Just slices the damn pipe out of her hand. And he's about to just totally disembowel her and whatnot, but you get Connor saving the day. Oh, look at you. So we get Connor starts using his speed and dicing up Kurgan's stomach. Now, folks, this is where when the fight finally reaches close to its climax, Kurgan's eyes just go almost all black.
Mm-hmm.
Did you notice that too?
Yeah. It's
like, why did they go there? I mean, this dude is already demonic enough, but I absolutely love that. And then he just goes at him, and we get the beheading. Now, you've seen Highlander the series, right? Did you ever see
it was years ago, but yeah, I've seen like.
Do you remember the scene, or do you remember the episodes that Duncan became evil from a dark quickening?
I know I would have. Like, I don't really remember them, but I do. I'm sure I would
well,
have.
The concept of a dark quickening is where you take in so much evil that you're overflowed with evil. Mm-hmm. Connor would have got a dark quickening. I mean, he just killed like the ultimate evil immortal, who's also the strongest, and that quickening was just fucking insane. Lifting him up like this demon, just flying all around him, biting down, trying to get to him. And all this time he's saying, this quickening is overpowering me. I know everything. I am everything.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, this is such a fucking mind-blowing. And she's looking away while he's on wires just flipping around. And it's like, huh. And when I was a kid seeing this, I'm like, whoa, what is going on here? But then you see the improved effects, and it's like, that's actually pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
Because they did both improved effects for this movie and the second movie that everybody hates. So apparently, after he finally has his quickening, he's no longer an immortal. He is now mortal. That is the prize, which I'm glad they actually kept in the that god-awful movie Highlander, the source, which the prize was mortality and the ability to have kids. However, the greatest part of the prize was omniscience and the ability to use it at its best potential.
Okay.
So essentially, it's infinite knowledge and mortality. It's like, so I have infinite knowledge that I can help save the world. However, you're making me mortal, so I can only do it in a certain amount of time. And if I get into a car accident, I'm fucked.
Yeah, pretty much.
But it's so great. Now, this last bit of trivia, folks. This movie, Highlander, was only ever meant to be a one-off. There was not supposed to be 2 freaking anime series. There was not supposed to be 5 different movies. There was not supposed to be a series or two sequels to this movie. It was only ever supposed to be a one-off. And that was it. And I'm like, well, yeah, kind of understandable, you know? So what did you think of Highlander overall? And how would you score it?
Objectively, I would put it like so as much as I like this movie, objectively, I would put it as like a 7.5.
Yep.
Where it's a decent watch, but there is some glaring like editing choreography, things like that. And as much as I enjoy Christopher Lambert overall for how he is as an actor, he really is not that good of an actor. Like, especially when he does that. I can't even do the laugh he does.
His laugh.
Yeah, his laugh. He's not the absolute worst part of the movie, but
No.
like he's not exactly the best either. So yeah, I would put it around 7.5 out of 10. But subjectively, I would put it like a 9 out of 10 because it knows what it is. It doesn't try to be anything else. It's literally dealing with people, like a race of immortals, essentially. And like simplistic plot, pretty much, that there's gonna be the quickening. You're gonna be drawn, like, once there's only a few of you, they're gonna be drawn to this like land far away, pretty much, and there could be only one, and you have the prize. You don't know what the prize is, but once you're the only one, that's what you'll receive. So,
yep. 7.5 out of 10. 69 plus 10 out of 100. Gravy D. 7.5. 4 out of 5. Got a lot of good ones, folks. Good scores. Now, I do the 3 tiers, folks. Objectively, I agree with Mara. It's more 7 to 7.5. Editing is a big issue in this film. Choreography as well. Acting, you got some good areas, you got some bad areas. But this film is very entertaining from a subjective level. It is a 9 out of 10. I mean, I just can't get over that backflipping weirdo. And some of the choreography. But moviegoer, this keeps your ass in the seat, so it's entertaining as hell. Great flick, 10 out of 10.
Yeah.
So that will be the end of our singles for August.
Sorry.
Yeah. And next week or next month, I will be doing singles not a week or not week to week, but a week or every other week. So let me look at the calendar of August. So let me pull it up here. I'm thinking, well, probably the same weeks that you would be doing your 1s to 2s, maybe.
Well, August is like a weird month because there's 5 Wednesdays, so I'd be basically doing an extra stream Wednesdays. But I'm looking at it going like maybe if we're sticking with the Thursdays, probably the 10th and the 24th.
That'll work.
So
10th and 24th.
It's gonna be like a little bit of time, folks, in the chat for the next singles, but normally would have done this next week, so there wouldn't be a lot of time. But schedule wise, we had to do it right in a row. But yeah, it's like I say the 10th and the 24th.
All right, and also, folks, Monday nights, for the next 6 weeks, Monday nights, I'm going to be doing a stream or Sharknado streams. I'm gonna watch the most horror or the most terrible movies and give my thoughts on all 6 of them because I recently just bought them all for $10. So, and they're all the specialized editions too. So, yeah.
Have fun with that.
Yeah, I know, right? So I'm going to have to suffer greatly through that. So you're all welcome. Also, I have my Sundays, Infinity Saga Sundays. I'm going to be talking this upcoming Sunday, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, Rip Yondu. Also, the next mystery review is Tuesday, and it's the best martial arts film of the 90s. So y'all know what it is. Pretty sure y'all know what it is. And if you don't, you must be living under a rock. But that's basically my upcoming schedule. I don't have anything, or I might do a video tomorrow, get a couple videos in for tomorrow, or in the afternoon, because in the morning I'm going to be driving down for my mom's appointment. It's a 2-hour drive and then back again, so it's a 4-hour drive. So yeah, and then Saturday I will be completely busy because I'm going to be doing a lot of stuff, and then going to my 20-year class reunion. Yay me! Mara, plug your channel. Tell them what you got going.
So, well, I like have several channels. I basically have 2 YouTube channels and 2 gaming channels. I videos are kind of on a hiatus because my parents are doing renovations around their house, so I pretty much have to be available and so forth. So I have to take a little bit of a break, and then try to do them whenever I can. But for the most part, you can catch me on streaming on my main channel, where every Wednesday in a month I have some stream that I do, whether it's the 1s and 2s, whether it's the top 10s. And we're basically Stig and I are trying out a new type of stream, essentially. So rather than doing a cringe factory once a month, because I talk about enough cringe by myself on my solo streams, on my live channel, and on Talk Nerdy, that we're going to try something where we talk about more, I guess, positive type of stuff. Even the weird stuff, where we can basically just have fun Wednesdays. And I'm right now calling it the good, the fun, and the weird. The name could change essentially at some point, but that's what we did yesterday. So go check that out. And if you have any ideas for either good articles, fun articles, or weird articles, I'm sure there's plenty of weird ones out there. Shoot them my way, and we'll go into them for those streams. And then for my gaming streams, I have my Kick channel. I will be, if not live there, well, I'm gonna try going live there tomorrow afternoon, just relaxing, chilling, playing some Uno and hanging out with you guys in the chat. But if I can't stream Saturday afternoon, I should be able to stream Sunday evening, because I've been playing the Miles Morales game in anticipation for having to play as that character in Spider-Man 2, set to be released in October. Mondays I play Halo, the Halo campaigns. Tuesdays I've been playing the Batman Arkham games, and I just started Batman Arkham Origins last Tuesdays and Thursdays are on my Twitch. And then since we're not doing the singles next week, I should be able to go live on my Twitch again Thursday evening, probably playing either Warhammer Space Marine or Apex. So that's essentially the schedule. I go live about 7:30 p.m. to 8 p.m. Eastern, depending on what streams I'm doing. So, and no gravy. I'm straight, so I don't play Fortnite.
Yeah. Alrighty, folks. We will get back to you when Mara and I decide on which singles to do for next month. And have we decided on what to do for 1s and 2s?
I was going to essentially talk to you about that. Because October is Halloween 1 and 2. Yeah. December is going to be Gremlins 1 and 2. I want to do Evil Dead 1 and 2, but I want to do Evil Dead 1 and 2 in September, so it's closer to October.
Yeah.
So I was thinking maybe for next month, I was thinking Ghostbusters 1 and 2.
That'll work, yeah.
So for next month it'd be, and when I say Ghostbusters 1 and 2, I mean the one from 1984 and then the one from about 4 years later.
Yeah.
4 or 5 years
89.
later.
84 and 89, yeah.
Yeah, so those two.
All right.
And then so basically next month will be Ghostbusters 1 and 2, and then September will be Evil Dead 1 and 2. The original Evil Dead 1 and 2, not the reboot and Evil Dead Rises. Although they're good. Yeah. The original Evil Dead 1 and 2.
Definitely have to look, or I've seen the original Evil Dead ones, and I'm rewatching Burn Notice, so I'm getting a lot of Bruce Campbell.
They're there has never been a fail in my opinion, in the Evil Dead franchise. I'm not saying they're all same level in terms of quality, And I know like a taste is entirely subjective, but there really has not been a fail. Like there's other franchises like the Hellraiser franchise where like you notice a noticeable dip in quality when it comes to the movies. Whereas the Evil Dead movies, they are still entertaining.
Yep. Alrighty. So folks, that's what we got planned. Y'all have a wonderful night. Thank you to Soul Assassin Trey, Courtney, Sean Bird, Gravy D. Oh my God, I had a lot of people in tonight. Vanya, Ragfear, Gigawatt 21, good to see you. Sean Bird, I think I said your name already. Wolverine, hey, had a Marvel character in here, awesome.
That's gonna be Army of Darkness sequel comic. I wonder how they would do a sequel. But that's interesting.
Let's see here. Jacob Ironside, thank you for coming in. Let's see. Fair Trade Gordon, Sean Byrne. Teresa Martin, thank you for coming in. Everybody that came in, I mean, there's just this time there might be actually Metalong. Thank you for coming in. Let's see here. There's a lot of people that was in, this chat was hopping. I don't usually get that many. Christian Freights, thank you. And I believe that Netcat Media, thank you. Darth Gutierrez, thank you. Rocky the Black Dragon, thank you all for tuning in. Y'all are freaking amazing people. Have a wonderful night. And always remember, folks, to stay humble.
Good night.
Bye.